Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm Perry, writer and illustrator of the Floof and Feathers webcomic, a slice of life series based on our real life pets, and I love making digital art. And today we're drawing the newest comic in our series, Storm Warning. And actually, I don't know if you heard or not in the background, it was kind of faint, but you might have heard Olivia beeping. She's actually currently downstairs enjoying a snack right now while I'm getting this recorded. So apologize if you hear her beeping or possibly even screaming. If you know anything about parrots and especially cockatoos, they are extremely noisy. So apologies in advance for any sort of distracting background noises like that that you might hear. Headphones and microphones only do so much against the screams of an angry parrot. This comic was inspired by, I would hope, obviously, by some ongoing real life events right now. At the time of drawing and recording this video, at least here in the Northeast, we are experiencing a pretty severe winter storm warning that looks like it's going to be lasting at least a couple of days, possibly into the early weekend. That being said, that's not anything too unusual here. We get some pretty heavy, severe weather during the winter a lot of the times. So really, or at least in Northeast Ohio, it's pretty much business as usual getting those severe weather warnings. Uh, but even so, we want to make sure that at least our pets are prepared and taken care of more than anything, since they don't really have any way to prepare for it, don't really have any kind of insight or know what's going on. So if you're someone who also has dogs, cats, any kind of pets that need to go outside over the next couple of days, I'm sure you're also just like us, looking after them, keeping a close eye on them while they're outside, wanting to make sure that they're warm and safe and nothing happens to them. With our newest dog, the youngest one, Pippin, we actually have gotten him a couple of warm dog sweaters to wear during the winter, for a couple of reasons. One is that he is much shorter and lower to the ground than his big brother Finnegan, so he comes in contact with the snow uh, just much more often overall. When it snows, it builds up on him a lot quicker. And also, his hair is not, or his fur, I should say, is not nearly as thick and fluffy as Finnegan's, especially on his chest. It's very fine, thin fur, so it doesn't do a whole lot for insulation, especially during the winter. So we've gotten him some sweaters to wear, trying to help keep him warm. The problem, though, is that it's kind of backfired, we realized, because he is so small and so low to the ground and gets buried in the snow so easily. And there is so much snow outside, especially right now and over the next couple of days, that those sweaters, it just acts like a pair of knit mittens, and it just attracts the snow to it like burrs. And he comes inside, and his sweater, from chest all the way up to past his shoulder blades, is just covered in snow and just starts melting through and gets soaking wet. And when he comes in and he's covered in snow like that, I think he's actually probably colder than when we first sent him out. So then we have to end up taking his sweater off and shaking it out and drying it and putting another one on him. So it's actually become almost easier to let him wear the sweater in the house to keep him warm, and actually take it off when we send him outside into the snow, and then get him dressed again when he comes in. It doesn't make any sense, but it's the only way to actually really keep him dry and warm with how much snow there is outside. So again, just with the pretty severe weather warning, drawing a comic based on that idea just seemed like a pretty natural source of real life inspiration. You can see here in this sketch, earlier in the drawing, Finnegan was covered head to foot in snow, which does happen more often than not in the winter when we send him out. He actually, I think he gets energy from the snow. He will go out there and ask to play in the snow, even if he doesn't actually need to go to the bathroom. He just wants to dig his head in the snow drifts and run around and wrestle with Pippin in the snow. He just thinks it's one big game. He loves it, can't get enough of it. And Pippin, we've discovered, is more or less the same way. He also just seems to get really energetic after he goes out there and plays in it. Uh, Pretty curious about it overall. He seems to love it. So you can see here in this drawing, I'm adding some pretty comically large ice cubes hanging off of all of Pippin's extremities, trying to show that he's sort of become frozen. And Olivia, of course, the arguably one of the cleverest of the trio, at least in the comic, is staying inside where everything is warm and dry and there's no ice and snow. And frankly, I don't blame her one bit. If you enjoyed this video, then why not tap the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up? It truly does help my channel so much. You might also want to consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/floofandfeathers, as well as visiting my main website and giving me a quick follow on social media. Links to everything are in the description below. And be sure to leave a comment letting me know what you'd like to see in the future. With that being said, thanks again for stopping by, and I'll